So some games are a little bit harder to get working than others, and some games just won't work at all, I'm afraid. Now, SweetFX works with DirectX versions 9, 10 and 11. If it uses a version before that, you'll either need to use a converter tool to try and convert it up to DirectX 9, or it just won't work. Also, if your game uses OpenGL graphics rather than DirectX graphics, it also will not work unless there are like special circumstances. And here, if you go to Wikipedia, it gives you the current list of games which are OpenGL, and the ones that I guess are most noticeable are things like Doom 3, the Half-Life 2 series, the Half-Life series, or Half-Life 2 if you're on the Mac. Some of the Medal of Honor games, Rage from last year, that would have been lovely with it, but sadly that won't work. Knights of the Old Republic, and there's another major one down here, and World of Warcraft. So don't be. It won't work with every game. The other thing you need to be aware of is that because this is a graphics modifying game, that some programs may perceive it as a hack or a cheat. Now, it's not. I mean, all you're doing is enjoying the graphics of the game. But I would be very careful before using it with a game like Call of Duty multiplayer or anything kind of competitive. Any kind of competitive multiplayer game, because systems like Punkbuster may class SweetFX as a hacking tool. Now, the other thing you should be aware of is that sometimes game overlays can cause a problem. Now, Steam is okay, because if you go into the SweetFX injector settings, there was this little button here that said enable Steam overlay compatibility hack. Now that means when you're in game and you use the shift tab to bring up the Steam overlay chat and things like that, then it works absolutely fine. But you may have issues with other systems that have overlays, such as Origin. In Origin, you will find yourself needing to disable the overlay if you have issues with it. You may not, but it does happen. And to do that, you need to go to Origin Application Settings, and this tab here that says In Game, and there's a thing here that says Enable Origin in Game. I would turn that off if you're planning on using SweetFX for now, until there is a compatibility patch in some way. The other thing that certain games have an issue with is the installing of the DLL files. Now, if you go to this wonderful little forum thread here, it's at overclock.net, and I'll put the link in the description, and you scroll down here, it gives you a list of a few games that are actually a bit trickier to install: Black Mesa, Crisis, Crisis 2, and Stalker. And basically, what that means is you need to split the install, so your DLLs go into one folder, and your main files go into the other. It gives you all the details here. Now, the configurator does try and compensate for that. So imagine Batman was one of those games. If I go into game settings, there's an option here that says split SweetFX install, and do I wish to enable that? And you tick that, and then you say which is the split install subfolder. Now this is a new feature, so it may not be working completely perfectly yet, but it is up and coming, and it does only appear to be in those few games at the moment. Incidentally, while you're in this game settings thing, you can also open the game folder straight away and add any extra launch arguments that you wish. And again, there's some more hints and tips here about the Division. But so if you've got any questions about, if you're finding your game isn't working, first of all, check to see if it's on this list of slightly unusual games. Secondly, check if you've got any kind of overlays causing an issue. I actually had a slight problem with Fraps with Batman briefly, and I was finding that I actually had to turn Fraps off and then run Batman and then turn Fraps back on, and everything was fine. So it may require just a little bit of fiddling to get these working, but the forum is very, very friendly and very helpful, this Ceejays thread here. So if you do have issues with a certain game, come on here, register, very, very politely ask if anyone has used the game you're having problems with, and I'm sure someone will give you a hand. The game Grid is another exception, because Grid has some graphics injectors of its own, some shaders of its own, and Grid isn't alone in this. So what you need to do in a game like this is go into the options menu and turn off any kind of multi-sampling or AA that the game, anti-aliasing that the game has already got. And you can see here all the different options, and normally it's set to about 2 times MSAA by default. Now, but having any of that on at all will stop SweetFX from working, so you need to turn that off. And Grid isn't the only game like this. There are actually quite a few where you'll need to turn off the in-game AA for it to work. But don't do this as a first attempt. Go into the game normally and see if it works first before you start fiddling around with anything like this. But now it is off. You should be able to see, if you look at the car in the background, that's SweetFX off and that's SweetFX on. You can see the vibrance difference, so it is now definitely working in game.